No. We good? We captions, everything?
Actions, everything. We'll go with it.
We're good?
I think so. I don't know if we're visually recording.
Oh,
We've been having a glitch with the spotlighting, and I don't know if it won't let me spotlight, it won't let me do anything,
oh dear.
but it is recording.
It's recording anyway,
Yeah.
so we have.
So we
Okay, as long as we-
Receive.
okay, I make a motion, we open the meeting. Second.
Okay, trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Trustee Volks.
Aye.
Trustee Lindbeck.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the meeting is now open. This actually isn't a regular meeting. This is a workshop for the board to have an informal discussion. The topic today is sort of a review and discussion of public input about the Arboretum and Wildlife Sanctuary. And I know we have the you know, the, what do I want to say, the sheet from the focus group that we can review. Boy, is that a moment ago.
They were also in your packet.
You scan them in, right? Yep.
Alexander was
Yeah,
able
yeah.
to-
She scanned them all in, so everybody's got those things.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, thank you also to trustee Marshall for, you know, helping to put this together and for everybody's participation, you know, the residents and also the board. So we did get some feedback, from some people in the community. And again, on the agenda, it's clear what's our long-term vision as a board. You know, we're stewards of this property. It is the last piece of sort of relatively untouched land left in the village. We have identified it as green space and as an arboretum and wildlife sanctuary. That was adopted by prior board. So, you know, again, it's just, what do we want to see there? We did get some community feedback. I'm sure we all have some thoughts on that as well. And what would it look like going forward in terms of, you know, activities and funding? All of those things sort of going forward. So, with that being said, do we want to just kick it off by going through what was said in the discussion, or do we just want to kind of jump in? Any thoughts?
I say we just go through it because
Go
we
through
just
it?
talk about bullet.
Sure.
If I may,
Yeah, Dave, sure.
I think the best outcome from today would be an action plan for what we should do between now and the next either village board meeting or workshop.
Mhm.
With the idea of continuing to build upon this public input, expressing our
Mhm.
input and arriving at some sort of plan, right? And so just to add to what we're gonna do, I had.
Kind of get a draft going.
Yep, so what I did is I put a outline in front of us on the left there, just that little sheet. Which is sort of a template, if you will, of what we might want to include in a master plan. It can be condensed substantially.
Mhm.
But I think the first thing is to recognize what we all want relative to the public. And then from there, maybe make some decisions what we may like within this outline or not like, so that we can move towards creating a draft of some sort and then work to modify it as we move forward this year.
Mhm. Okay. So, again, how do you want to dive in?
Yeah, let's just do page one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
so everybody's got that. You want me to kick this one off?
Yeah, sure.
Which one are you on? The very first
Wish
one.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wish
Yeah.
list.
That was my group.
So within the packages for the public, these are the outcomes. What you have in the packet is an outcome from small table discussions and then presentations that they made to the public. And this is all on the video for on YouTube on our channel. So the first thing was vernal pond education info at site.
Mhm.
Question mark fundraising, I'll skip that for now and just say educational information at the vernal ponds, some sort of stick in the ground that's metal and relatively difficult to remove. Maybe with a QR code or at least just a little blurb about what it is.
Yeah, the Scout project has already been approved by this board to
Okay.
do so.
To do that?
Yep.
For the vernal
Yep,
ponds?
yep,
Great.
this board
Okay.
approved it last year.
So
Okay.
project will do this.
Mhm. And as you may recall, they were working with some of the volunteer groups like a Frog House in
Mhm.
particular, because the Frog House jointly, did the project with the
Okay.
village, so.
Yeah.
There wasn't there that string of Boy Scouts coming in, and one of them was a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so as it pertains to sort of the plan, right, a master plan for the park, Green and Nature Preserve. I think signage in general is something that we want to address, right, embedded within that document on some level.
Sign it, well,
Just general signage for
yeah,
key
sure.
unique areas of interest.
Yeah, but I mean, there's signage there already.
Yep.
I mean, so. I think, and I just want to frame this maybe at a larger level about, how we really do look at this holistically. Because in the name, it's the Corby, it's an arboretum, and an arboretum is essentially a collection of certain types of trees, in this instance, native trees,
Mhm.
to reinforce sustainability, educational components,
Mhm.
and, to promote essentially forestry and understanding
Mhm.
of, in this instance, our native trees and to our region. So that's an arboretum. And then in the name again is wildlife sanctuary. And so there are habitats there. And I will say, we can go through every single sheet here, and there's not one thing on this sheet, with the exception of the vernal ponds, which
Mhm.
are habitats.
Yep.
Temporary habitats. There's not one thing that even reinforces taking care of a wildlife sanctuary.
Mhm.
So I would like the board to, step back a bit, because we're stewards of this property, and bring that into consideration as we go forward.
Yep.
So, hey, welcome. Hi, Jason. Yeah.
Yep, I think that's a point well taken. My
Yeah,
comment on
kind of.
signage was predominantly, when thinking about all these bullet points, the question is to what degree is it included in the master plan
Mhm.
from the standpoint of signage, what we would like? Because to the degree that anybody reads that document, Boy Scouts, municipal groups, the Friends, for example, you want them to have a pretty clear understanding of what we're looking for regarding signage on.
100%.
Perfect.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that was when the board reviewed the Scout project that came to the forefront.
Yes.
The Scout was directed in terms of what was acceptable by the board.
Yep, so just
So
sort
I
of
think, yeah.
expectations of signage, that sort of thing.
And I see signage as twofold. Wayfinder signage, like helping people find their way through those trails.
Mhm.
And then the educational component of areas that are significant that people could stop and read a little blurb about the wildlife and so I think that they're twofold.
And I think should be personally some consistency to how it looks.
There always should be, and I think that was part of the discussion when we approved, again, the Scout plan about signage.
Yep.
And also other trail signs that are currently there. Everything is much more on a naturalized level, there would,
Mhm.
kind of a little rustic.
Mhm.
Jason, you may want to speak. Jason, what we're doing is we're just going through like the pages on this, so we're at the first page, wish list. We're talking about signage and how much signage we should have. And, all of that kind of stuff.
Do we have a photo of what the scout signage looks like? Do anybody
Yeah, it was,
remember?
I'm trying to remember what date that was, but they definitely had
Oh, yeah, it's in the
example
yeah.
of like
Yeah.
Yeah.
measurement.
Send it out. Okay,
Yeah, that would
that'd
be
action
great.
items.
We
Send
can't-
out- I was just up
Would
with
we,
signs.
would we utilize that as our standard?
Yeah,
for all
that would
Right.
probably be best, because really when you're dealing with a wildlife sanctuary or, a preserved forest, you don't want to overthink it on signage. You want it to be very
Natural.
compatible and
Mhm.
natural with the environment, so it's not overtaking the environment. Jason, yes?
Just familiarize me with signage, because right now the only signage we have is
Trails.
the trails.
Mhm.
The renderings are just a wood arrow,
Right,
and then on the arrow, it actually has like etched in,
yes.
like a brown stain, or it might even just been from the router marks.
It sort of looks like signage you see in the Adirondacks.
Yes, so
Yeah.
very perfect.
So it was the Tuesday, September 9th meeting. So it's Luca Hill.
Yeah, it was.
There's a proposal to create and
Luca.
install 3 informational signs near the vernal ponds in
Mhm.
Arboretum.
Yeah.
Mhm,
And then Riker will be providing an update on costs and
Mhm.
materials.
mhm.
Is there a picture of that, Dave?
We'll send it out.
Yeah, I mean,
We
it's
can-
probably in the.
I think those are the informational
Mhm.
signs. I think
Yes.
there's one
Yeah.
young gentleman that did the actual trail signs.
That happened.
That was 5 years ago.
That was early days, I think.
Yeah.
But I think what we're going here from, again, trying to focus this to the
Mhm.
master plan that we're trying to create for the property. Some of this stuff, it's really just a question of consistency, more natural demeanor.
Mhm.
You're not looking for an example to embed in the master plan, I don't think, as much as it is consistent with an existing signage.
Mhm.
And it may be, anytime there's a stake that goes in the ground, it comes before us anyway, so.
For consistency,
Right.
but we should have something that.
Possibly, or maybe we send it to the HPV, or maybe we just give that authority to somebody else. That's not what I'm trying to decide today. All I'm trying to say is what gets embedded in a master plan with regards to signage should probably.
I'm not so sure it would go to HPV because it's not involving a building essentially in an historic district. I
Yep.
think the stewardship, again, comes always back to a board, to the
Mhm.
Board of Trustees. So
Okay.
that would be under our purview.
Yes.
Just wanted to,
Yeah.
kind of,
I think those
Even
sort
that
of
out.
things get settled later. Today, I think the
Mhm.
focus is, what do we want?
Mhm.
And one of the components of the master plan that I'm hearing, just based on this one thing, is we do want to address signage in some capacity or another within that document to make sure that there's consistency, natural wayfinding, education components to it. Anyway. Okay, so the next one is a website link to the village. Right now, we don't have a website. So we could embed it in a plan for creation of a website.
we have a village website, right?
Yep.
And you're saying this is I thought that meant a link on our village
I think,
website
yeah, I think it's linked from
Something more?
the
Yeah.
village to an arboretum.
to,
an
yeah.
arboretum.
In other
To
words,
an
we,
arboretum site,
So if somebody comes to the village's website, they're easily able to then
Yes.
see.
right, but what
We
Dave
We don't
said,
have
there
an
isn't one.
arboretum website now.
There-
hang on. Let's back up here. We have a brand new website and we're still working, trying to really tweak it.
Yep.
On the website, there is a page that will be about environmental stewardship and sustainability. There will be an entirely separate page that people can click on
Mhm.
and they can see, oh, wow, the village is a clean energy community. We're a climate smart community. The village has an arboretum. The village has the Auburn Line Pocket Park.
Mhm.
They can click on all,
Mhm.
they can see it on our website. And I believe that's what the intention was perhaps of this type of feedback.
Tab.
Yeah, you just click on it and go,
Hyperlink.
oh, that's what the arboretum is. There's the map. That's how I get there.
So the green,
Yeah.
initiative
Yeah.
page, the
Mhm.
subset of it will be a link directly to. the
Yes,
arboretum.
yes.
So then the arboretum little click that somebody wants to see more about the arboretum,
Mhm.
is the intention that the village is gonna design that information?
Yep.
Or the friends designing?
No, I think this
The
is.
village-
The village.
within-
The
The village, okay.
village's
Okay.
arboretum.
Right, so the
on our
village
page.
design, like.
So we'll go to a map. It'll be the mission of the arboretum,
Right, okay.
when the arboretum was created,
Okay,
what it means
perfect.
to have an arboretum, what it means to have a wildlife
Okay.
sanctuary. These are additional things that you can do and see when you're in the arboretum. By the way, it also connects to the town preserve. We have a link to that, so people, in other words, it activates it all along.
Perfect.
And then the next thing we would need to do, when you Google the arboretum, we would need to notify them that we have a page now for that.
Yep,
Because right now,
and that's what,
when you Google it, there's
Mhm.
nothing to go to.
right,
So we
exactly.
can force them to link it to the village.
Right, so,
Mhm.
right,
So
So this would be, as you think about the master plan, just like with our comprehensive plan, there's a list of goals and objectives, right? And those lists of goals and objectives kind of come down based on different areas that the comprehensive plan may be addressing. And one of those could be the simple thing of putting it up on the website, and that's it. It doesn't have to be super complicated.
right.
We just want to make sure it's
Yeah.
embedded in the master plan.
Yeah.
as a
I think
goal.
we're all in agreement,
Yeah.
100%. You bet.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds fabulous.
Okay.
Okay, the next one is trail going from the arboretum to the canal path. If you don't mind, I'm just gonna skip that one for now. That one's probably a longer term goal and objective rather than And I'm not so sure we want to embed it immediately in the master plan.
Okay.
But it is something that I think people want. It's something I would like. It's just structurally how to get it done now, given the DPW and some of the discussions. I think that's another topic for another day.
Okay,
Okay, identify arboretum border, label trails and ponds in Google Maps. Well, before we even do it on Google Maps, I think we should do it with regards to any time we have an agenda where the arboretum is on it. It would be nice to have a map of the arboretum rather than the canal path overlay that we're looking at. So I don't know where the specific map is that was approved for the size and the scale of the arboretum.
I'm
but
sorry, where do you want this? I'm sorry, I'm not following you.
Yeah,
I
so-
apologize. I'm not
No,
following
okay.
where you're going with it.
What we had,
So right now, what we have is identify arboretum border, label trails, ponds on Google Maps.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yep, yep, right. And so,
And all I'm suggesting is right now, what we're distributing in these packets doesn't even have the border. It would be nice to have the official map that was adopted of the
The survey
arboretum,
map.
the survey map.
what
Because
map are you looking at? What is
the
that
one that-
identify?
the one that's in the packet,
Okay,
this is
so-
the canal path.
Okay,
Whose is this? This is the lands of the New York State Canal Corporation. So this is not a village map.
oh, we'll get that from our village engineer then.
Yeah, I think it's one Scott.
Yeah, so if.
I
if
think
we
it
could-
does reflect, but we'll confirm that with the
Mhm.
village engineer.
I don't mind keeping this one, it's very useful, but I
Yeah.
think having the official map of what is included in the arboretum, for moving forward would be. great.
Okay, so the action item is. they have to
And then-
review
You want
with-
the official map, but I was understanding another point to this. Are you saying anytime you have a project, anything related to the arboretum on the agenda, you want the maps included? in
It would
the
be
map?
very useful that way when we're talking about locations and where things are relative to the DPW. I
Okay.
think it'd be very helpful to have it.
right,
Yeah. Right.
and then having that map updated with the trails that have been put in and, you know, so.
And-
We don't have that capability to update those,
Um,
so we have to go through Michelle.
I was just gonna say, let's
Yep.
reach out to our
Yeah.
town.
So that could be, again, the things that we don't have done, we could embed as an action item within a master plan. It doesn't have to be an immediate, but we do have a map of an approved park that was adopted. I think in the maps section of the website, we should have that PDF embedded as well, because right now it's not included. So when I was going to pull up, hey, where exactly is the map
Mm.
relative to the canal path map here? I couldn't find it on our website anywhere, and so I think that should be posted. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes,
Sure.
So that topic, identify arboretum map and border on Google Maps. I think that's a longer term, sure, for the plan as a target. I don't know how hard it is to embed it in Google Maps, but let's start with.
It's the same, all you have to do is, when you're contacting them about the hyperlink change, you can do it at the same time. You could say, look, we are a municipality, we're trying to update entry. Here's the actual border, as
Right.
well as here's the link. So you would do it all at once.
Yeah, we have staff that's familiar with how to do that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
great.
it's not a stretch.
all right.
Okay, so that's just part of that whole online.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So overlook from the top of the hill to see the canal and village. I personally have not been up there to know where that is.
I don't either.
There's not really any spot that has a view of the village from.
I didn't understand that
Yeah, I
either, to
didn't
be
either.
honest with you.
Is there an overlook space that you can look at the canal from being in the arboretum? So there's no high point.
The highest point is
It's the
just
hill,
the meadow.
it's the meadowland.
And where that little hill that looks over the pond, like the larger pond that's on the town property, there's probably. As long as the invasives are cut down, it's possible there's a viewage there, but there's really nothing back to the canal.
Well, I think also what this person may have said is to build an overlook, to build like a
That's what I was
platform,
thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, like
I think that- yeah.
a tower.
a viewing tower.
There's
I
a
think they want.
ring
people
of
from-
stuff. and-
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yes, because otherwise you really don't have. much.
Yeah. they want to build
Wow.
a structure that you can climb up and see.
That makes, I can see where that makes sense. I didn't see it otherwise.
Yeah. Mm.
My first reaction to that is, no, it seems too much to, bite off and chew, the 5 to 10 year plan.
Mhm.
But maybe this is something that if the community really wants it after we start working on improvements, it comes back when you have a bigger plan.
I agree.
But I personally don't want to go the path of putting in a tower
Yeah.
that will do the overlook.
also,
It's kind of-
we have the pine woods that are on that far side, you know, on the hill that is towards the canal, and they're preserved. I mean, you know, in other words, they're there because we want to have the pine
Yeah.
woods.
So is everybody okay scrapping this and having it be more like bench,
you know.
bench seating overlooking
Yeah,
pretty
just-
views type thing?
You know, thanks for the input.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
that'd be probably more than we
Mhm.
wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so donation opportunity with space for native plants, you know, anytime that we can receive donations is great. So if we have a good plan put together, I think there'll be opportunities for, you know.
100%. And I
Right,
think
that's
it should be also,
Process.
I would think it would also be in conjunction with the removal of invasive species to be replaced
Oh, yeah.
with native plants. So it's not you're just throwing native plants in, that it has to be part of an overall deliberate program of areas identified. So if someone wants to donate native plants, we can say, we have this area to have the invasives removed. This is the, you know, type of canopy that would accept certain types of natives where they could thrive. You know, I think that's kind of really where we need to drill down, and that would be in a master plan.
With a
Yeah,
process.
so this is,
Mhm.
that's a great point, which is getting into the part of this that I don't know anything about, right? What comes out, what goes in, what's the maintenance look like, right? We have people, yourself included, but in the community have a lot of knowledge on those things.
Mhm.
And I think we just work with everybody to try to build that into the master.
And I
plan.
think also we can work with, you know, we've always worked with the scouts in the past, but we also have been contacted by, the biology department at Nazareth. They want to go in and do an amphibian study of the vernal ponds. And we may be able to dovetail some of this also, not only within our own village, but really reaching out to academic institutions, because they're part of our larger community. St. John Fisher, you know, NAS. I think that could really be an opportunity, particularly for, you know, interns, you know, that kind of thing too.
It's one of those words like whatnot.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I think, okay, good. So then QR codes on signage, I'm not so sure we need that to be a requirement, but I don't mind it, so.
Fine. with that.
Yeah, and it's easy to
Yeah,
update,
it's
even
easy.
if you use the same QR
Yeah.
code.
Yeah,
You change the link later, you can
yeah.
Sure.
update it.
And actually, you don't need, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, you don't want to I guess I don't even know what the right word would be. I don't want to over activate the area. There's a sign here, there's a sign here, you go there, you know, whoa. Maybe at each entrance, scan the QR code, here's your map, and it identifies the different places for you. So we're not, you know, creating essentially, you know, what is it, the visual
Noise.
pollution.
Yeah,
You
pollution,
know,
noise pollution, yeah.
with, you know,
Or
all
visual
these things
pollution,
sort of
yeah.
going on, you know, that is always, I think, a concern.
Yes.
You know, like over activating something, particularly when it's identified with very specific uses.
Yeah.
You know, as arboretum and wildlife habitat.
One of
So,
the things that I wouldn't mind, sort of getting everybody's opinion is, for certain trees,
Mhm.
right? Almost like, you know, when you go in and you look for fairy homes
mhm,
in nature,
mhm,
there's few and far between, but when you come across them, you recognize they're there.
mhm.
Little signage for certain trees,
Mhm.
maybe it's just a QR code and just the title of the tree type.
They do that in Highland Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that, I think, very
We've
small.
identified trees, you know, with
low to
little
the
signs on.
ground, Right,
It'd be good for the meadow.
Yeah.
There's a variety of species of trees. We have the copper beech tree that's there. That's
Mhm.
kind of a special tree.
Yeah, that's true.
Identifying that that's there, other than just looking at
it
it.
might only be 5,
Yeah.
10, maybe not even, but I think embedded in the plan could be just a comment or
Mhm.
reference to that.
And just to circle back, because the meadow really is a deliberately planted arboretum,
Mhm.
portion of the arboretum, that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes an educational tool.
Yep.
If you're there to learn about the vernal ponds, then you see a wide variety of native trees.
Mhm.
And what I also appreciate about that is you are consolidating a lot of human activity in one spot.
Mhm.
So other habitats in other areas are just protected.
Mhm.
So people aren't tromping through
Mhm.
saying, you know, where's the beech tree?
Yeah.
I think, you know, again, it's that balance.
Yeah. I think that this speaks to maybe it's a good time to talk about no new path walls. We really don't need any. I think the number of paths that are in the arboretum seems quite sufficient.
Overactivated.
And to the degree that there may be like in the pine forest, right? Maybe there's just a little marker there to tell you about the pine forest if we wanted it. But to your point, you're not gonna put 5 or 6 of them along every path. That just seems too active.
And also over time, as things fill in, pathways will be, people will just begin, no, it'll be self-directed. You'll see a pathway and they
Yeah.
never walk down it,
I like the natural look of the tree rails, like the.
Tree shows.
Yeah.
That look-
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think too, to make it park-like is doing a disservice to the intent of what this is about.
Mhm.
As, wildlife habitat, an arboretum where you're seeing all these different native trees, native plantings. We have an active bench donation program all throughout our village because our village is park-like. We have beautiful old growth canopy, wonderful places for people to sort of sit by the canal. In the arboretum, I think we want to be very thoughtful and very deliberate about exactly what goes in there, because I agree with you, David, it's natural. It's a natural, one of the last places in our village that really even shows that. The only other place is Lom Woods.
Mm.
And that's protected old growth,
Mhm.
So it's very special.
Yep, so I think to that end, there'll definitely be a section in the master plan about structures or benching, right?
And
To
that
what
looks
degree
like.
outside of the meadow do you want to have a more active environment versus not? This speaks a little bit to one of the comments we'll come to later with regards to outdoor, not amphitheater, but a seating area,
Mhm.
right? Should there be some educational events, how big of area and space might you want that and where, right? So we'll have to define some of those things. Okay, so I'm on page 2 now. Repurpose DPW gravel storage area. Can we use town storage area to lease that land? I think
A really big.
that's a little
discussion.
hard for the horse,
Yeah.
maybe.
Short answer, no.
Yeah, short answer is right now the DPW is located there and we need the gravel storage area. It's a
It would be a hot mess to have them keep going to the town and back.
Back and forth. I agree, though, the question is that land more valuable as a different use? And that's
Yeah.
another thing.
That's a completely,
Right.
yeah,
Long
different topic of
For
conversation.
now, the answer is, the DPW and the services that we need, the gravel storage needs to remain.
Mhm.
But, and from a master plan perspective, we create the master plan assuming, the land of the park is the land of the park, and that's what we have to work with.
Mhm. Mhm.
It does speak though to the part of the park that you've got that little access, that flat spot going out. Right?
Just DPW.
Yeah, just north.
The access road.
Right, the access road to that area, that we don't use that, right, for active gravel storage or
Right.
rough storage. That
Right.
We're not doing that now.
No, there's a stone pile, I think it was brought in for them to use for
For
something.
the, yeah, whatever's there is for
Yeah,
volunteers to use in the arboretum. The DPW no longer has any storage there at all.
we're actually.
You don't
taking
even, you haven't even taken the sand out of the sand hill. That used to happen
No.
for
I have
like
this-
70 years. They carved out half of that hill.
Yeah.
Actually, when I came in office, I stopped it.
So it can be a staging area for things that we may need within it, but
Yeah,
totally
That's about
understand.
it.
that area there is getting cleaned out, like it's an overgrown pile now,
Right.
decomposing things, we're taking that out, and then there's a small pile of stone that's getting removed from there, so.
Yeah.
But that'll be, yes, time allows, but we're kind of poking away.
Okay, so the next one is the dog park. I personally am not a fan of the dog park in the Arboretum. I think if we can figure out. There's any one location in the village that I think a dog park may go. It's currently on RG&E land next to Bob Ford Field,
Oh,
to
that'd
the
be-
right, where
Oh,
the parking lot is. There's some space. There's some space between the town land and it's all RG&E
Mm.
right away. But there's parking already there. It's not used
yeah.
aggressively other than during
Right.
baseball season. I love
And
the
it's a
idea.
quieter area for dogs and,
Gonna disrupt them.
and it's already been activated with a lot of human activity.
Mhm.
So you have
Yeah.
less habitat disruption,
All that.
introducing domesticated animals into what is supposed to be a
That's
wildlife
good.
sanctuary.
I personally would like to, well, I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do this with the master plan that's kind of on my plate from a liaison perspective. But it would be nice to try to get a conversation started with RG&E about acquiring, the rights or the
Mhm.
right of way to not just that area,
Mhm.
but perhaps the field in general,
Mhm.
and even acquiring it from the standpoint of a long-term park.
Mhm.
The value of that Little League baseball field to this community is bar none, one of the nicest, just amazing integrated.
It
towns
is,
that we
and
have.
it's not an arboretum, and
That is
so we can
correct.
put it on a different
Okay.
agenda.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Okay.
That's a little soapbox, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Well, just because we have noticed this meeting is for the arboretum, but I'm
Perfect,
totally
perfect.
with you on that. I
Okay,
think it'd be
great.
great to
So,
really explore
I
that.
think the dog park is crossed off for the arboretum, moving on. Is everybody okay with that for now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so clean entrance to Hillside Trail, that's great, just that signage and trail markings.
Mhm.
The fairy garden idea. I do think that there's a spot for municipal, I guess, interaction on some level like this, but I would want it to be very small and minor.
If I can make a suggestion, because we already have the spruce trail that goes through the pines, that'd be perfect for a little fairy trail.
Sounds
It
fun.
would be really sweet, because the
Very-
trail's already there, and I know the kids would love it.
I do.
You know.
I don't know where that is.
Things are great.
I don't know where that is.
That way you're not-
Pines, where, I don't know where that location is.
When you come up from Village Lane into the Arboretum entrance and you're in the meadow,
Mhm.
if you walk down in towards the meadow, then you'll see the trail to your left that goes through the pine woods.
Right,
So it
okay.
could be the fairy trail through the pines.
So it's kind of on the exit,
Yeah,
so
see
it's
here.
kind of close to the
Yeah.
outside, so it's not gonna interrupt the inside.
No, it's like
Yeah.
perfect.
And then
Oh, yeah.
I think
yeah.
it'd be adorable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, I know like the scouts are already like popped up on that,
Well,
and we could maybe have certain little specs for things, like
Mhm.
no plastic, it has to be wood,
Mhm.
that
sure,
kind of
no
thing,
more than X.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
we have
no,
that.
no artificial flowers.
My hope is some of these things, right, the size and the scale of them and the degree by which they really don't interfere with the natural habitat, right? We can embed in a master plan something that is specific enough but loose enough where if we wanted to extend some flexibility, right, to others. For example, the Friends of the Arboretum, if they wanted to be the arbiter of where it goes or how many, like honestly, that shouldn't come before us. Again, that's not for our decision today anyway. What's really for our decision is, do we want fairy gardens? And I think the answer is yes, right? Interactive elements for the public,
Mhm.
the young public in particular, or anybody, is a good thing
Mhm.
at a size and scale that's appropriate.
That goes, yeah.
Okay, so let's focus on
But
that.
as stewards of the property, we define what's appropriate.
That's correct.
In
Period.
the
Yeah,
master plan,
yeah.
yes.
And so I
Yeah.
think what we do is we define it,
Mhm.
everything here, we define it to the degree that we need to in order to
Yeah.
get what we want. Co-op community garden, I'm gonna come back to that, and just reference the dog park again. I think if, again, our G&E spacing and where things should be based on how we activate it with parking. A garden, community garden with a little shed coupled with a dog park of some small size scale. If we can figure that out,
I'll be honest with you, having worked on a number of community garden projects over many decades, that is a better area for a community garden because there's open land with sunshine.
Yep.
And
Yes.
also you can fence it appropriately. So, because I'll tell you, you'll see what's gonna happen in the arboretum, anything you're gonna plant, oh, I wanna put vegetables, gone in
Right.
5 minutes.
Right, because.
You are creating salads for rabbits,
Yes.
dinner for,
Yeah.
deer. So,
yep. And
I think it's a better opportunity over
Very
there.
good point.
in the town park next to Pittsburgh High School,
Mhm.
where they have the
Yeah.
gardens there. I just love pulling in to play tennis,
Yeah.
go to the park and
And you
see the
see all
gardens
this, I
there.
know.
It's just a nice,
Yeah.
active community
Yep.
vibe to it.
Yep.
So I think we should come back to this.
But again, it's out in
Yeah.
open sun.
Yeah.
In other words, you need to have that to
Yeah.
grow your.
So I like that the community is telling us what they want. I just don't think the arboretum
Right,
land.
we'll put it in a place that's appropriate.
Okay, so here's a list of short-term things. So more planting, definitely the plan will have to have a sort of a planting element to it, a cycle to, growth and.
Can
Yeah,
I
did you
suggest,
want to-
yeah.
Yeah.
Is possible to put a list of what natives you want in there?
Oh, yeah.
We-
In the area,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
and when,
And
right?
Seneca Zoo Society actually helped us with that when they did the original cataloging through there.
Yep.
So we can look up that information. Yeah.
I think that if today what we do, a lot of this stuff we're gonna agree on, but I don't have the knowledge set to go through it, nor do I necessarily think we need to in a public meeting. What'll happen is when we put a draft together, a lot of this stuff will just be embedded And then the people.
It'll be
who do
internally
have
worked on,
knowledge-
yes,
Yeah.
staff can do it.
And the people who do have knowledge of it can go in and kind of
Mhm.
fine tune hone it. But if we can get community members, we can get staff, collaborating a little bit. And I even don't mind seeing multiple different sort of drafts, and then we try to push them together
Mhm.
to the degree that they agree, and to the degree they disagree, we just bring it back to our board. Right? So coming back to just these things, so planting, pollinator quarter, I think, that all makes sense, signage.
We do that anyway.
Yep. it
All
would-
through the,
Yeah.
that's like part of
Yeah.
our sustainability program, yeah.
So we embed
Mhm.
some section within the Arboretum master plan that talks about having a pollinator quarter, or the types of things that might be included therein. Signage, we talked about that.
Mhm.
Trail markers, talked about that. Invasive species maintenance, there'll definitely be part of the master plan that
Mhm.
discusses all of that. Master plan website, map,
Yep.
development.
Got that.
I don't remember what the development term was there at the bottom left, but I do think that generally the public didn't want a lot of development, and I think that coincides with how I feel. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, I think it's such an opportunity to not do too much.
Yes. Keep it natural.
Because so people can go in and have, feel that calm and that peace of really being with nature,
Mhm.
as opposed to all kinds of things being
Go.
activated.
Overboard with rails and
Yeah.
too many
And
benches.
signs and.
Yeah, because also, don't forget, we have two major trails on either side of this property.
Mhm.
We have the canal path running the entire canal system and the Auburn Line Trail that
Yeah.
goes for miles.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this should be, I think, just a special little natural
Sanctuary,
spot,
How do you guys feel about one, maybe two picnic tables? I would like to go up onto the meadow and be able to sit down, or is this a picnic basket and picnic blanket type of
Maybe
place?
that, I'll tell you why. Do you want to speak to that? I know, you go first and then I'll probably, no.
I'm not itching for it, I just, so,
You-
one of the things that I envisioned and I sort of like to see is. When you first approach from Village Lane. We have an area in the grass to the right of the trail and before our barn on the right, the
Mhm.
green barn. Nice and flat, it's a nice area to come out of and kind of, it's in the sunlight most of the day.
Mhm,
There is there is a little bit of nice shade there, perfect spot for picnic tables.
I know,
Over to the left of the boulders, right of the boulders, I guess. I could envision some sort of a trash can for people on their way out
Mhm.
or on their way in, so that it's not in the arboretum
Mhm.
itself, like deep into the meadow areas, trails. And then on the right hand side, there's a perfect spot right now for a small bench. So that as you're coming in, maybe you need to, stretch, clean up, whatever else, but I'm
Mhm.
seeing, trying to keep things. As here's our entrance, here's something you can sit down over here, have a lunch.
that's true, it identifies the entrance too.
Yeah,
And it's
it helps.
very
Yeah,
specific.
not that the sign's not there.
No, but just in addition, you see that that's an area.
Then you go in and it's very nice, undisturbed. Picnic if you want,
Mhm.
blanket type setup in the meadow or where else, where we're not trampling through to get to the picnic tables and create our own trails. And next thing you know, we've got, people will find whatever means to get to a picnic table instead of following the trail. Next thing you know, they're cutting through the meadow, maybe stomping through, natives that we planted or.
Yeah.
I think to
Something like that,
activate it
sure.
actually outside the arboretum, but adjacent to
Okay.
it that way is
Yeah.
probably, at least to start with that. It's always tricky when you have people go into a wildlife sanctuary and have them picnic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's garbage, it's just. I
You
don't know.
notice now, a lot of the people that come out of the arboretum actually go up to the small property, they have a couple of picnic tables.
Yes.
Right outside the arboretum, across the driveway.
Yeah,
And they always sit over there and hang out, and then we have to go over and pick up the trash, because they just leave it at the picnic table.
and it's also the cleaning up after
Yeah.
yourself and whatever you bring in, you take out.
Keeping
It's
it out.
always the motto.
Helps.
But I do like the idea. I know exactly what you're talking about, those picnic, I think that'd be a perfect area.
I love the idea of having embedded in the master plan, a carry in, carry out policy. Right, so from a trash maintenance, it's the DPW, we are not responsible for, although we pick it up,
Well,
people do it.
right, we
But
do
the
it
point
now.
is,
We walk through
it's
there.
a carry in, carry out. part.
But it's important that we reinforce that with
Right.
people
Yeah.
coming into us, this is all part of stewardship.
Yeah,
So are people dropping trash right now in Arboretum?
It hasn't been that bad, prior to
Better.
it sort of
Better.
becoming, what it is now, it was very free for all. There was a lot of spots.
Well, it was a dump
Yeah.
before, so people
Yeah.
just
There was
thought that way.
Lots of bottles and cans. I mean, I personally went up 2 years ago and filled just multiple bags of trash. But after that, after maintaining it and actually I talked with a bunch of the high school kids that were going up there on their lunch break and hanging out. And I watched them throw some trash out just as he's walking. So I said, guys, come over here for a minute. I'm not mad that you're coming up here and hanging out. You're not in trouble, but let's not leave a mess behind. Well, there's nowhere to put the garbage. I go, you have a bag in your
You
thing.
carry it out.
Your friend has a bag in their hand. You have like 2 items, put
Yeah.
yours in here and then carry your stuff for this bag.
Thank you for doing that.
And I go,
I'll remember that.
I have I'll tell you right now, go ahead and give me the garbage when you're done and I will have somebody take care of it. You know, like
Well,
just
that
give it
was
to me.
nice, yeah.
And I'll tell you that the rest of the summer, we saw them sort of come around and hang out. They bring their bikes down, put them right outside the arboretum and walk in. And they waved, they were respectful, and they brought their trash out.
Mhm.
If nothing was said to them, they would have just carried on the way they were. So there was a little education component
Which
as
is
far as
great.
the youth is concerned. Adults is a different story. I would assume that they know better, but
So when they brought the trash out, did they put it in the garbage can outside of the arboretum, or did they take it?
There's
No,
stuff
he
there.
said he took it
I
for
think
them
Okay.
to
So,
dispose of it.
but
So we're
that's a
gonna put
good point,
can there.
because I don't think
Yeah.
kids, if they do take it out of the arboretum, they're not gonna ride on their bike with the garbage, so
Okay.
there's probably something on the outside.
Didn't we
Yeah.
just say that to put it, you said to put a
Yes.
trash can right by
yeah,
that?
one
that-
side
Yeah,
trash can behind,
Perfect.
kind of out of the way.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not visible.
Yeah.
So adjacent services,
Yeah.
but that's not embedded in the master plan. Master plan will simply say carry in, carry out.
Yes.
What we do around that will be
Mhm.
useful.
Yes,
Should that be on the sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Well, it
probably
should be.
figure that out.
Prior to the entering the arboretum,
Yeah.
these are essentially your rules.
Yes.
No motorized vehicle
Sure.
of any
Oh,
kind.
yeah, it could be a rules.
We should probably
Yeah.
have a bike rack outside the
Yeah.
arboretum,
rules list.
so you can park your bike and walk in.
Plenty of
I would I would try to discourage a lot of biking through there, to be
Mhm.
honest with you.
So
It happens now. I mean, there's the
bike.
You probably know more about
I-
the bikes, but the fat tire bikes are those for
Yeah.
off-road?
Yeah, but I would assume most of the people who get those don't really like
They're not taking-
aesthetic, like they're not
Oh.
actually taking them out
Okay,
too.
Gotcha.
because we see a lot of like the
Yeah,
tire
sure.
marks, and
Yeah.
there's a very defined area that somebody keeps going and, you
Yeah.
know. Good for them for riding bike, I
It's
guess.
probably off the Auburn Trail, it's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, they come around. and-
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we want to have a little, I see the doggy poop bag thing.
Hmm.
Do we want to put a little
Mm.
thing there, or will that?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, because I know that's been such
I
an
would
issue.
much rather have that there
Yeah.
to make sure that they know that. it's
Okay,
there.
so it can be with the trash can, so it's like obvious. Yeah.
Yep, so again, this is the adjacent services, again, not for this master plan, but it's addressing bike racks, picnic tables, trash and dog food bags. All good things, just not in the arboretum
Mhm.
itself.
What did you say about picnics?
Like maybe a picnic.
Discouraging? Oh,
No,
on the outside.
yeah, but again,
Adjacent, yeah.
this isn't gonna be in the master plan.
Well, do we want the poop bags outside?
Well, maybe we have a couple spots.
We could-
Yeah.
The trail markers on the outside of the arboretum, so
Yes.
part of the
So
trail.
when you go in, you see the trash can and the poop bags and you understand. You pick up your poop bag, you take your dog
We
in,
could do one.
they bring it back up.
Yeah.
I would say
maybe
do one
more.
inside too, so
Yeah.
people will be like, oh, I forgot it.
Because then somebody's gonna be like, yeah, I don't want that,
I'd
but
much
come
rather
on,
look
they come
at
back.
that small little station. with
Yep.
green bed hanging
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, they have them all thought.
Yeah,
all right.
You know,
Okay.
you know the drill.
So there might be some elements here where, near external or internal signage, dog bags. Okay. And that might even be able to not get listed specifically, but just as a, services as appropriate type of thing, like line.
Mhm.
Okay, long term, connect to canal with trail. Again, I think as far as this master plan, what we'll be able to realistically accomplish over the next 5 years, maybe 10, we can address this at a later time. I don't think we need to do it as part of the.
Yeah, that's a heavier lift.
Limited structure, talked about that. Pond view, this speaks to benches. We will need to, in the master plan, have a map and some potential bench donation locations. We're gonna actually have that on the agenda next week
Mhm.
with the church donating some benches, should we choose to accept it.
Yeah, Jason, I sent Jason that you saw the information about those benches. They're pretty heavy.
Yes.
They're, I think,
They're stone, the edges are
They're
stone, right?
concrete, I think.
Concrete, yeah.
I don't know. I think it creates a park instantly to
Yeah.
have those there. I think we could do better.
If I
for a
had
natural
additional
look.
bench, I think the one bench I would want to put in is right when you first enter the trail on the right hand side by the rocks, on the other side of the rocks, like at the
Oh,
village lane entrance. There's
okay.
a spot right behind one of the big pine trees that's naturally just cleared out, and it seems like a good you're coming into to the arboretum or leaving the arboretum, you can stop for a minute, maybe you gotta clean your boots off,
Mhm.
change out, whatever, it's a perfect spot to see. But it doesn't take away from the overall aesthetic of, and maybe it's not for these benches in particular, but a bench in general, even a live bench.
I would love to just see
I'd love
what
to see
Dave
more
Jewett
of
does,
those.
you know,
A what?
those
Oh, yeah.
live edge, the
Beautiful.
natural wood, you know, that's more of an aesthetic for the environment.
The benches from the church, I took a look at them, I need to go over there.
Yeah.
And really get an eye on, but remove them from where they are, we would need equipment.
It's like
And
major.
because they're 200+ pounds.
easily.
Do you need equipment as in you need to rent equipment to?
No, we would use the
They-
skid steer.
Oh,
We would
okay,
have to
we
bring
have the
in-
equipment, okay.
We would have to make
Sure.
a.
So I looked at it and initial look is that I would really not want to try to lift them up and then have them break. So I would want to disassemble them,
Oh, okay.
bring the
Kind of a-
stone or concrete bases back with the wood, maybe refinish the wood because it looks kind of splintery and
Mhm.
paint flaking off of it.
Mhm.
Kind of refurbish them and then put them out somewhere. Where they go, I don't know that part. I just don't know if they have.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
know,
don't know what the
another,
look is. You know?
another thought that, I would, you know, we have, because right when you come up the, canal path to the DPW, and then there's that little spur of road that goes to the
Yeah.
DPW, and there's the two picnic tables that are there. Maybe even putting those benches there, if we were to activate, because this came a couple, before another board, about creating signage there to divert people around along the Skull property to the Arboretum. So you
Yeah.
could have the benches and a little sign, and that is not a heavy lift in terms of, you know, well, the benches are, but I'm just saying, you know, to create that path with maybe a little split rail so they know
Mhm.
that they're directed, and then they just cross over to
And
go
the
up the
benches
hill.
are seen. So
Yeah, and then it could be a bench.
That's good.
there's only one bench there now, and the picnic tables.
Yeah, but
you know,
sometimes you just want to sit on a bench, you walk
Yeah,
down the path, and you
I'm
want to go.
surprised that that area doesn't have more.
Yeah.
There is one up further in the small area. Not a lot of people go to it.
So just if I may,
Mm-hmm.
with regards to benches in the plan, whether or not we accept these benches and
Yeah.
not these benches,
We need to-
the idea is we're gonna have benches.
Yeah.
Those
Or some
benches,
type of seating,
and there'll be.
maybe a tree stump, maybe a rock. You've got
Something.
some rocks that kids can perch up.
So there'll be
you know,
some sort of
natural.
reference within the plan where benching or seating locations may go. That also speaks a little bit to the pond view. Maybe that's one of the locations we might select.
So is this pond view, is this the vernal ponds?
No, I think this is.
This is the
a
wetland.
Slightly elevated area that as it goes down, we cut down a bunch of ailanthus and then you
Oh,
see the.
So it's the wetland.
Yeah, it's looking over that wetland.
Where is it on?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
there you go.
there.
Up a little bit, I think. Yeah,
Right
right in
there?
there, right in there. It's the very northwest portion of the park.
I would keep it simple, just a simple little.
Close to Auburn Pine Trail, you say?
The very northwest corner, right?
Frog Pond Trail,
Maybe.
okay.
You know,
I guess I confuse it with vernal ponds.
no, I
It's
know,
not
that's when I said pond view, I wasn't sure. You know, has anybody been to Wild Wings to see where the bluebirds nest?
Nope.
Wild Wings Sanctuary.
I know where it is, just. haven't
Yeah.
been
It,
there.
oh, you guys would love it.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That's what-
What they have, and it's very discreet, they have a little trail that goes to just a little deck. And then the railings are just simply built-in seating,
Mhm.
you know, with the rail. It's very simple.
Mhm.
And it doesn't intrude on, and you can literally see all the bluebirds
Yeah.
flying around out there. It's pretty cool. That may be something, I'll probably be going out there because I go out there every spring to see the
Yeah.
birds nesting. So I can take photographs of it
That'd be
for it,
great.
so we can see.
Yes.
Mhm.
That might be an opportunity for something that's not super invasive, maybe just a little deck that you
That'd be
can,
great.
you know.
As every good plan has, right, you can describe it as much as you want, but a picture's gonna say 1,000 words. And so having some of these pictures of things that we all agree on, which could
Yeah.
be seating, decking,
Mhm.
and that'd be great. So then, eliminate control invasives, clearly that'll be part of the plan, natural, not manicured, I would.
Yeah, we all agree on that.
Okay, so I think we're all good
Yeah.
there. More native, less invasive, clearly
Yeah.
sections on that. Now, the more recreation, that's an interesting one. I think that, to me, they just put a little arrow, more paths. And I'm not so sure I want more paths, but I don't mind more things to see. That could be the pollinator garden, it could be the fairy.
Well, we're activating a lot. We have 3 vernal ponds, we put in a permaculture exhibit, we have an arboretum with tree plantings, we have a natural meadow being planted.
Mhm.
The RG&E right of way is gonna be overplanted as another meadow. We have the spruce path that's gonna be a fairy garden. Wow.
Yeah,
So that one goes away.
I think that goes
You
away
know-
by the fact that we're doing these things.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think it was just, thrown out.
More education, mini amphitheater. I like this idea, particularly if we're trying to engage in the broader community, but I just don't know how big and where and how you guys.
What they were talking about at that table was like 3 benches,
Oh, circle,
one
like a
and then-
semicircle?
Yeah, type thing, so you could take a
Okay.
3rd grade class that are.
Maybe too
some-
deep and that's
yeah.
it or something.
Well, it's interesting because if you've been to the town canal preserve, where they have the 4 ponds, frog ponds,
Mhm.
and they have a seating area for education there, and it's
Mhm,
super
mhm,
simple.
mhm.
Let's not overthink it. Maybe we kind of take a look at that and just
Yeah.
say, because I do like the idea if you want to bring in a scout troop or that
If
class.
somebody wants to
Yeah.
create this for us and we create the visual of what we might be looking for, we may not be able to get it done. It might
Mhm.
cost a little bit of money, but if
Mhm.
somebody's willing to do it for us, great.
Mhm. Could be a scout project, yeah.
One of the campgrounds that I go to, it's a newer campground, Letcher Bailey Campground.
Yeah.
Resort, they may have a photo on their website, but they have, it used to be a Christian camp, and they have a theater built into the woodside. There are the hills that overlooks, well, there it overlooks their lake, but it's just a little, this area has a fire pit, but then around it are just some logs that lay down, kind of in.
Like in a log.
There's like, it's because it's a hill, there's another little step back, so it's sort of like just
It's
this
tiered.
tiered seating, but it's
Mhm.
very, it blends right in, there's grass that grows all around it, but the logs are there, they just kind of trim around and they're exposed for a seating area, but very natural looking, very undisturbed,
Oh, that's like the
Yeah.
camp I
So-
went to.
very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should take a little picture of when if you go again.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
So these are the sorts of things, sounds like it'd be something nice to have. We don't have like location, but it'd be nice in a master plan to put a location of a future amphitheater and just bet it and.
Well, I think it definitely could be part of where the meadow is, because there's already 2 vernal ponds there and other exhibits of permaculture. Again, I think it's about maybe consolidating human activity, so I want us to really be thinking about that
Mhm.
it's not about, okay, we're gonna open up this whole area where there's habitats, probably, I think we have an opportunity to really work with what's there. And I love the idea of sitting on a log. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot cheaper too.
yeah,
The only other
Yeah.
area that I was thinking is
good point.
the access road. When you're going down the access road, as you're starting to go a little left and around, to the right, there's that little bit of embankment that goes up. That's already kind of a little bit open, the access road and the field there that goes there, maybe there's some spot,
Mhm.
a
Yeah,
space
and look at
there,
everything.
rather
Sure.
than be up in the meadow, but I agree with you, you don't wanna like engage the whole.
Yeah, I just worry about overactivating
Mhm.
what is, 10 acres, especially for ranges of creatures is not a lot.
Yeah.
So every time we make a decision to implement something else for a human, we are eroding what's already a habitat and a ranging area. I just, always want us to be mindful of that.
Yeah. I think, definitely agree. So refined map, I think we've
Mhm.
talked about that a little bit, first we gotta start with the map.
Just a note, 5 minutes,
Okay.
okay?
Benches, donate, remove gravel, tree ID plaque, QR
Yep,
code,
talked about
definitely are there. So that all makes sense.
Sorry, John, was there a rhyme or reason with the colors?
No,
No, okay, I just want to make sure that like.
Was it
it's one of them,
color-coded?
Like a specific time period.
no, just being,
You were being creative.
they
with
gave us
color.
marker.
I
I
think-
like it.
Yeah, right. So I think we have a good start. A lot of this is gonna get down to kind of nitty gritty things like types of trees, types of elements,
Mhm.
getting photos and building it out. But as far as the outline of the master plan, I just put a page in front of us that includes the key elements that we might need. And we can flesh this out later. But a draft master plan might include, and tell me if anything should be crossed out. But purpose, long-term vision, maybe we include short-term too, but certainly where do we want to go over time? Balance, conservation, access, education, guided phasing, decision, and funding. This is a whole page dedicated to why do we have this and what's it for?
Yeah.
Plan and scope, so how many pages might this include? It doesn't have to be 15 to 30, but it seems like with the degree of specificity we might want to embed in it, we might need that much many pages. Updating 3 to 5 years, maybe not, maybe 5 to 7, but, all right, core elements, just vision guiding, site inventory, constraints, land use, ecology, public access and trails. Again, this is no particular order and not everything needs to be included. Facilities, what's there now or not, government and management will need to, reference that. Phasing and funding, so this will be something from a master plan perspective, how much are we willing to dedicate to what? I think a lot of that's just gonna be invasive for the
Yeah.
foreseeable future, right?
Forever, for
Right,
decades.
so anybody says, hey, do we have money for benches? No, we're gonna deal with invasives, right? We'll accept
You
donations.
want
type of
seating,
thing.
here's a log.
Right, so
Which I like.
pretty much everything other than invasive species remediation,
Yeah.
until we get that under control, is likely gonna be donations or volunteer efforts. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's maybe beyond the plan. So key decisions, preservation, public access, we talked about that. Specific versus flexible, I think we're probably gonna be more proscriptive in terms of what we want and what this conversation sounds.
Mhm.
Passive and active programming, we won't do any of that, so it'd be more passive, but the community certainly would have to engage. We'll need to figure out, not within the master plan, but to the degree that others may use the site for education and things like that, how do we do a reservation of the amphitheater?
Mhm.
If we were to do that, if there is one, aside from that, it seems like without a formal location, there's really no need to manage.
Well, I mean,
Have a sign
you would
up.
always, you want to speak to that. I mean, right now, for anybody to do any type of work or
Oh.
project in the Arboretum, it comes right through Village Hall,
I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking work, I was thinking more like kids going out there to learn.
Still should come to Village Hall, so we know who's in that Arboretum. There's the liability.
Would you want to embed that in a master plan or just have that via rules with the?
Well, I think it's
separately?
policy and rules.
I think it should be in the policy and rules, and that, as you were saying this, I'm thinking we need a set application for activities at the Arboretum, whether it's Boy Scout project. Cause, you're putting.
Right, just like we do with anything in the village,
Yeah,
right, have an
exactly.
application.
What
Yeah.
kind of signage, what kind of,
Okay, so let's make that an action item.
Including
for-
that map that you're talking about attached to that application.
And let's make that an action item for an internal
Um,
work there.
I guess from a master plan perspective, you just simply have, a sentence or two talking about the village's oversight with regards to, shared usage and that sort of thing. But more specifically, that's done not embedded in the plan.
How do we educate scouts to come to us to help develop their Eagle project? Because a kid comes in and says, I want to do this. And that might be something we don't want as we looked at this. So encourage them to come to talk to, somebody to say,
Mhm.
here's what we could use, rather than here's what you want to do.
It's interesting because we've had a mix of scouts wanting to come in and say, hey, I'm interested in doing this kind of project.
Mhm.
Or we have scouts who come in and say, we need a project, what would you like? And then we have the scouts that say, I want to do this, So I think it would be a communication to all of our troops because we have all that information and just say, and they do that right now with like our Village in Bloom project. They're really, they've tapped into that.
You don't want to discourage them in any way.
No, you just want to direct
guide
them
them,
away.
yeah.
Yeah, but thank you for bringing that up. That's something we need to communicate directly and we can draft that and reach out.
So just my comment on the
Mhm.
master plan that we're trying to accomplish with the Arboretum, that won't extend out who's doing what,
No.
as much as it is, here's what we want. And then how that gets done underneath it is more about policy, implementation, working with community groups, working with the DPW. So I think if we say enough of the things that we want, amphitheater, outdoor seating, benches that may look like XYZ, invasive species remediation, whatever it is that we're embedded in there, right? Trail maintenance, trash pickup, cleanup days, things like that, right? All those things are things that people could support. And then we just decide how much of it comes before us versus Jason versus individual groups.
So it looks like it's time, guys.
Yep.
My concluding thoughts is, I've got a recommended approach in terms of vision, protected areas, phased in implementation. And my thinking is, we try to build out a draft of this and start working through some specifics, and we can have that, some of it happen internally, some of it happen externally, but just keep working it forward. We'll need some specifics on the types of trees and plants and all that stuff that I don't know anything about, but that's
Yeah,
fine.
look at that.
That's plug and play.
Thank you, David. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, thanks. This has been great, and thanks for also just really creating the
Mhm.
structure and the organization for it. Appreciate everybody's input. I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, trustee Linda,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes.
Aye.
Trustee Coe.
Aye.
Trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Right,
Motion carries.
okay,
Great.
everybody.
Great.
Great.